Today I'm going to share with you my mom's famous caramel recipe. So you're going to start with your pan. You have your 4 cubes of butter. When I'm first adding ingredients, I just keep it on low so the butter doesn't melt and things don't burn quickly or anything. So add your 2 cups of light corn syrup to the butter. Now this is a double recipe because I was making a big batch of caramel popcorn. You can very easily do half this batch and make some nice chewy caramels and things to have. You're going to add to it 2 cups of brown sugar. I did this kind of backwards. Normally I do the brown sugar first and I do the caramel syrup last because it coats the measuring cup, but that's okay. It all mixes together and it all tastes the same anyway. So again, I just have the burner on very low while I'm adding all these in because nobody wants burnt caramel. That's the absolute worst. So you got 2 cups of sugar. So far we've got our 2 cups of butter, 2 cups of caro, 2 cups of brown sugar, 2 cups of regular sugar, and 2 cans of sweetened condensed milk. You can see obviously it's super easy to cut in half. It'd just be 1, 1, 1, and 1. And once you get all of your ingredients in here, you can turn up the heat a little bit. Preferably, I like to cook mine on high, kind of a medium high. Some people are low and slow, but I don't have a lot of patience. And so from start to finish, this recipe will take you about 20 minutes. And you're literally stirring the whole time because if you stop, especially once it starts boiling, it's going to burn. So for me, I like to have it up on like a medium high to a high. So once you get all your ingredients in there, crank your burner up a little bit and just mix it in. Now, you can melt the butter beforehand, but I don't, and the reason is knowing that your butter still needs to melt, like as you're stirring it, watching the butter melt, that's kind of one of the steps to me is after the butter's melted, you know you're pretty close to a boiling point. So I never melt my butter first because you're going to stir it. You got to get it to a boiling point anyway. I don't know, maybe that's a way that it makes me kind of pass the time and track it as it's cooking. But you want to just keep stirring it. Now, at first, you might see some of these brown sugar clumps. It always scares me because I think, oh no, it's burning, if I miss a split second of not stirring. But at first, that's the brown sugar. As it gets hotter, that'll melt right in and that'll be fine. Otherwise, if it's boiling and you start, if it's boiling and you start seeing those dark brown spots, that means you're not stirring it fast enough or you have it on too high. So turn it down, stir it better. Because those pieces, it's actually burnt caramel and it will stay in your caramel. So even when you're eating the caramel, you'll be able to see the burnt flakes in it and stuff like that. And sometimes it doesn't really affect the flavor. It just depends on how much you have in there. When we're camping and stuff and you're a little less picky with things like that, you're just happy you don't have ashes in it. We've done this caramel over the fire, over, cooktop while we're camping. And when you're doing it that way, you're not as picky because, it's camping. But when you're doing it from home, you don't want to, you don't want to have that stuff in there. So you're going to stir it. Like I said, once you see the butter's melted, you're pretty safe. You know that you've passed that first mark. Okay, so now you can tell here it's starting to get ready to where it's about to get to a boiling point. And the boiling point's when you really got to be careful because that's where it can burn so easily. So I'm gonna show you here with this how to do the water testing method. Now, if you have a candy thermometer, you can use a candy thermometer, and those tell you exactly the temperature, and it'll tell you when it's at a soft ball or a hard ball or a hard crack stage. But this is how I learned doing this. This is the old-fashioned way without a thermometer. And you just drip a little bit of the caramel into cold water, a bowl of cold water. Now this you can see it's thin. If I were to stir this with my hand or try to grab it, it would just fall apart. I wouldn't be able to grab anything. It obviously wasn't ready. That means it's not ready. I mean, if I was doing a sauce to pour over ice cream, it'd be fine, but it's not going to set up. So now once you get it boiling, you're going to just stir it, and the more that you make this recipe, you'll see it'll kind of thicken up even as it's boiling, and you'll get to know kind of an eye for it of when it's ready for a softball stage. What you're looking for is when you put it in the bowl of cold water, you want it to be able to grab it with your hands and form it into kind of a softball. And it's almost like it'll do kind of a crusty outer edge, but soft and pliable on the inside, that you can still mold it, but it kind of has an outer edge crust. For caramel popcorn, so you can see how you can almost see it's forming a little bit in the water. For caramel popcorn, we want it to be pretty soft. I like really soft caramel popcorn. If you were doing caramels to eat, you wanted a little firmer ball. This is basically putting it in the cold water. It's like you're quickly setting it. So see how I can grab it there and make it kind of form it into a ball? That's perfect for caramel popcorn because we don't want it to be too hard. We want it to stay soft and gooey on our popcorn. So that means it's done. Turn off the heat. Remember, keep stirring because even though you have the heat off, it still could burn. So stir it until you pour it over your popcorn. And once you pour in your popcorn, it's going to settle all in the bottom. So slowly just mix it in. This is one of my biggest Tupperware bowls. It's like a 42 cup bowl. So this is actually a lot of popcorn in here. So you just want to gently mix it in. The minute you pour the caramel on there, it's going to start to cool. Just like when you make Rice Krispie treats or any type of candy, as soon as it doesn't have the heat source, it's going to start to set and harden. And so you want to be sure you're stirring it right away. Get clear down into the bottom of the bowl where all the caramel went to. And you just want to make sure your caramel popcorn is well covered and well coated so that it's all evenly dispersed. And that's it. It's really not that hard. And most candy making stuff is pretty similar. You can do the water testing with about any candy you're doing, suckers or fudge or other things like that. Super easy. I hope you love this. This was my mom's famous recipe, and she had a lot of requests for it. So I hope you enjoy it, and you can get a printable recipe for it on the blog. And please like and subscribe. Thank you.